Hello Code Gurus, welcome back. And in this video tutorial, we are going to see how to create dynamic layouts inside our Vue.js application. So before we get into the details about how to create our dynamic layouts inside our Vue.js application, let's try to answer one important question. Why do we need dynamic layouts inside our Vue.js app in the first place? So to answer this question, first let's go back to our application and observe. So if you have observed our web application which we have created in our previous tutorials, let's say if I click on sign up, the layout of the page is pretty much the same. Again, if I click on the layout login page, again the layout is pretty much the same. So that means our entire view of our application is pretty same. So again, we might again answer like, do we really need to have different layouts for our application? But if you take a typical web application, the answer would be yes. So why that answer would be yes? So I would like to answer that question by let's go ahead and customize our sign up and login page. So here we will go ahead and create a beautiful form in at the center of the page and see how it looks. And then that itself will answer whether we need different layouts inside our web application or not. All right then. So in order to do that, what I'll try to do is I'll try to probably use a ready-made template which is provided by our Beautify framework. So to get that, go to a new tab and just say Beautify.js. So inside this Beautify.js, once you are on this web page, just click on documentation. Now under this documentation on the left hand side, you should see something called as framework options. So just expand that framework options. Now under that framework options section, you should see something called as application layout. So under this application layout, you should see something called as Premade Layouts. So this is what I was talking about in a couple of seconds back. So what are we doing is, I would like to use this ready-made layout, which is giving us a login form kind of thing. So this is the different layout. If you compare with our homepage over here, it's a completely different layout. So it doesn't have a taskbar or doesn't have a footer, right? So, all right, so let's go ahead and create that layout for our sign up and login with the present view which we have and see whether it looks good or not. So for that, let's go to our code editor. So now let's go ahead. I've already opened my application over here. So here under the sign up page, what we will do is we will go ahead and copy that code over here. So how do we get the code of this page over here? Again, go to this applications layout page. You could see something, a section called as source code over here. Just click on that. So that will navigate us to a GitHub page where we have source code for that web page. So here what we want from this web page is all the content which is inside my v content. So just copy that. Now let's go back to our editor over here and just place that thing within our div section over here. So what I've done is I've just replaced your existing div over here with the code which we have copied. So now let's save that and go back to our browser and see. So in order to see our local code, first we need to go ahead and start that application. So here, let me go ahead and start that application over here. So just give it a couple of seconds to load your application. So what it in behind the scenes it does is it spins up a web server and then starts hosting our application locally. So just copy that local URL over here, go back to your browser and try to access that URL. So now since we have modified our sign up page, let's go ahead and see. So we could see a different form, right? So again, so we are still trying to answer, do we need different layouts inside our single web application or not? Now this itself should answer that question. So it really, really looks odd. So what we were trying to target is, this is what a generalized classic web application looks like. And this is what I can say it's like not a production application, a learning application kind of thing. So here we are creating a production application. It's not that great. So what are we going to do is we are going to create two different layouts and try to load them at runtime. So before we proceed, let's go ahead and even customize our login page. So what I'll do is I'll go back to my login page and I'll pretty much paste the same code which we have inside our sign up page. So I'll copy that content, v.content over here, go back, paste it. So if I go back to my web browser, if I click on my login, yeah, they both look same, but still it's not that great. Let's go ahead and customize before we start going ahead and creating different layouts and using those layouts inside our application. So go back to our source code. So I just want to get rid of everything which we don't need. So except I don't want to call it as login form. I just want to call it as login. So I just don't want these tooltips which are present over there along with my title inside my login page. So I just want that page to be there. So if you go back and see that inside a browser, so this looks a pretty decent form. Again, this color is in a pretty different color. I'll come back and I'll show you how to customize that. So in order to customize that color, what we need to do is, so earlier we used to go ahead and copy this color everywhere, wherever we want, right? So if you are using Beautify framework, there is a concept called as themes where you can go ahead and customize that color. So now we are going to do that. So here, whatever the theme which your web application has, it's defined under this plugin section in beautify.js file. So here you can see this is what your theme look like. So here, if I just go ahead and change that primary color to our web application primary color, it should start reflecting it. So here it matches our web application color. Cool. So that's excellent. But still, we are not happy with the layout. Okay, we will come back to that point later. So here, what else the other customizations which I want? Let's assume if the page is like this, there is no way for an end user to go back to his previous page. So either he can just log in, or again, if he wants to go back, he need to go ahead and click back button, which is kind of not that great if you take the end user navigation or user experience perspective. So what shall we do that? In order to address that, what I want to do is I just want to create a cancel button. So here I'll just go back to my login again. So I'll just copy paste the view button code, and instead of login, I'll just say it as like cancel. And whenever I try to cancel, so your view button actually implements your view router. So you can just simply go ahead and specify where you have to navigate when I click on that button. So here I'll just say it as /, which is our default home page for time being. So now if you go back to our web application, you could see a cancel button. Now if I click on cancel button, we are back to our home page. Cool, excellent. So with this, we have completed our login page customization. Let's go back to our sign up page and I'll just change the title over here. We will come back to the details of the sign up page in our later tutorials, maybe most probably in our upcoming tutorials. So in order to do that, just go back to your signup.view. So again, get rid of everything from your spacer to the tooltips, which we don't need that. So all we need is your title over here. So here it's going to be sign up. So this is going to be a sign up form for us. So again, this is not login, it's going to be sign up. So that's going to be my button title. So for time being, I'm purposefully leaving the form elements. So they're going to be like your username and password. So let it be. We will come back and customize a sign up page when we are trying to deal or when we are trying to add authentication to our single page application. Clear? So now let's go back to our application and see. Cool, excellent, it looks like. So all we need is a cancel button over here, just like we had it inside our login page. So for doing that, just copy the button. So here I'll just say to Again, I'm directing it to the home page. So here I'll just say it as like cancel. So if you go back to our page, so here we have our sign up page and login page, and we even have some navigation to and fro. But the only odd which it looks is it doesn't really gel with the existing application layout. So how do we create a new layout? Or how do we create more than one type of layout inside a same single page application? So let's go ahead and try to do that. So in order to achieve that, first let's go ahead and start creating our layouts inside our application. So to do that, under your src folder directory, go ahead and create one more new folder called as layouts. So this is where we are going to define all our layouts which are being used by our web application. So now we will go ahead and create a new view file over here. So the first layout, I'm just going to call it as dashboard layout.view. And I'm going to create one more layout which is required by our login and sign up page. So here I'll just say it as login or sign up layout.view. So here we have created two different files. One is for our dashboard layout, which we will be using for timing only inside our homepage, and login and sign up, we are going to use it inside our sign up as well as in our login page. So all right, so then what are we going to define? How are we going to define our layouts? So for doing that, first let's go ahead and add template tag over here. Now inside this template tag, we will just go ahead and add a div tag. Close that div tag. So now inside this div tag, we are going to define our layout. So let's go back over here. So this is our entire page layout. So we will just cut that, go back and paste that over here. So I'll just go ahead and format that code. So the next thing is we will, instead of router, we will just go ahead and create a slot. So your slot tag acts like a placeholder for the content. So here I'll just go back to our app.view. Now over here we are going to define our router.view. So here what this is going to do is, this is your entire Vue.js application, and this is where your router is, and this is where your layouts are. So what is the next step? So we said that the layouts are defined somewhere else, but how are we going to use this user-defined layouts inside our web application? So in order to use that, let's say inside for our home page. So if you go ahead and view our present application, so all the menu bar and the footer are gone because those are defined inside our layout, correct? So how do we apply that layout to our views? So let's go back to our code base over here. So since we have defined that thing as a separate layout, we just need to import that layout into our views and apply that layout over here. So in order to import that, so here we'll just say import dashboard layout. So from where? So it's going to be the file which is defined inside my layouts, and we are going to take the dashboard layout because that's the default layout for my home page. So just copy that and configure that thing under your component section. So in order to apply your layouts, so the next step is, after you define your layout, go back to your view, import that layout, and then configure that layout under the component section. The next thing is, you can just access them as like your tags. So ensure you close that your tag. So there should be an open and close tag, and format my code. So this is how. So now let's go back to our home page. Voila, you can see over here. So our layout is back. But now the only difference is, if you go back and click on your sign up page, it's different. So again, if you click on sign up page, this is a different view, whereas your home page is in a different view. So now you might have asked a question, we haven't applied any layout to our sign up and login. Yes, absolutely. Yes, correct. So that's what we wanted basically. But that's not a right way of doing things. Let's go ahead and create a layout even for them. So how do we do that? So if you observe why we want to create a layout, because there's a lot of, I can say it's like repetitive code between them. So in order to create the layout for them, so what I'll do is I'll just copy the first 3 lines from my sign up page, go back to my login or sign up view page, and then come back and I'll copy the layouts of the closing tag. We will come back and we will get rid of them. So here we have created one more layout, a generic layout I can say. So again, since this has to be this content has to be filled from the specific to that view. So we will just create one more placeholder called as slot. So just format that code. Now go back to our sign up page. So we don't need this content and layouts because we have defined that layout inside our login or sign up layout page. So we will just get rid of this generic content layout. So let me go ahead and format this code. So now this sign up just has the code which displays all the sign up related details. So but we haven't configured it. So what we are going to do is with any layout. So if you go back to the sign up page, it looks completely odd because we got rid of its layout. Let's go back to our editor. So now over here, we will just go ahead and create a script section. Now we will go ahead and try to import the layout over here. So here I'll just say import. So again, I'll just say login or sign up layout. So again, from the files, so it's inside our, so it's inside the present directory itself. So here I'll just say layouts. One second, interesting. So your views over here, yeah. So we need to go 2 directories up and just say layouts / login or sign up layout. Now the next important thing is just like how we have configured under the component section over here, we will go ahead and try to configure here itself. So since we don't have any existing components configured, this is the first time. So this is how you try to configure your components. So you just say components, open the flower brackets, and just specify the component which you want to configure with this view. Now how do you again use this thing? So all you have to do is just wrap the content of that view inside this layout. So I'll just format this code. So now if you go back to your sign up page, just reload the page. Now it got back its original view. So same thing, we will go ahead and try to do it even for our login page. So inside our login page, I'll get rid of this container v.content everything. And same is the case over here. And I'll just copy paste the script section from our sign up because it's pretty much the same. There's no difference. Unless if you want to add something specific to that view, it would change maybe in future, but now for time being, it's perfectly fine. So let's copy the tag and paste the tag at the root and same at the bottom. So let's first go ahead and format the code. Yep. And if you go back to our application, you should see now our login has a perfect view and sign up has its own different view and our home page has a different view. So how did we achieve this dynamic layout? So we achieved this dynamic layout by creating a layouts over here under a different folder called layouts, and we changed our app.view to just host our view router. We haven't included any of our I can say it's like layout logic like we had earlier. So it's bare minimal. And next what we have done is we went into our views and we have configured the components and we modified them. So now there is one more way of achieving this dynamic layout. So which I can say a more preferred way than what we are doing. So the one which we have achieved till now is called as static layouts in Vue.js because we are enclosing our content of our view within those tags. So from performance point of view, it's not really great because every time you try to load a view, it just tries to recreate that entire view from scratch. So that means from performance point of view, it's not that great, but at the end of the day, we achieved what we want. We have two different layouts for our home page and we have different layout for our sign up and login page. So now how to do the same thing, let's say more dynamically. So in order to do that, first and foremost change would be inside our app.view. So in order to achieve our dynamic routing, so what we will do is we will enclose our router.view with a component tag provided by your Vue.js, which is pretty powerful, by the way. So it's the component tag and in which we will enclose our view router. So now the next important thing is this component tag has to be associated with something dynamically. So here I'll just say for time being, I'll call it as layout. Now, one more important thing is I want my view to dictate how that layout should be. So what are we going to do is inside my view page, I'm going to say, okay, view, I need this layout. So view will automatically figure that thing out. So to achieve that, so we need to say layout dot sync again equal to the layout variable. So here what we are going to do is inside our view page over here, we will publish an event which will be picked up by a view router and will be passed to this component tag. So now to do that, so the next thing is we will go back to, inside. Once you have done this change over here, we need to define that variable. So here I'll just say it as layout. And let's say as a fallback, your component can even render basic HTML tags. So here, just in case if nothing is provided, I don't want it to be blank. So I will just say use div tag for that. So this entire section will be inside a div section. So it should be perfectly fine for us for time being. Now the next important change would be how we apply this layout inside our view pages. So let's go back to our sign up page. So now what we have done is we have configured that component, or we have registered that layout as a component with our view. So now we don't need that. Instead, what we are going to do is whenever our view is created, we are going to publish an event which would say what layout it needed. So here, how do we publish that? So here inside your Vue.js, we have one lifecycle method called as created. So which is called when your view component has been created by your Vue.js framework. So how do you emit that? So here event, we'll just say this dot emit, and this emit will contain update : layout, and we will pass our layout over here. So this is our layout which we are going to apply, and again we don't need this tags, and our content can just, our template logic can just solely concentrate only on that view logic. So we need not, so the extra flexibility is your view is driving your entire layout of that surrounding application. So now if you go back to your application, you should not see any much difference. And let's go back and try to apply the same thing to our login page. So I'll just go ahead. Save that. And now again, I'll just get rid of components. I'll just get rid of components and I'll just copy paste the same emit event section over here under my login. Now, the next thing is for my home page, we don't need this dashboard layout. So instead of components again, I'm just going to create a method over here. So in fact, I'll copy paste what we have done over there. So I've just copied already and pasted it over here. So instead of login or sign up layout, we will be passing dashboard layout over here. So what are the changes which we have done to do it in a more programmatic way? So first thing is I've created a component tag and which encloses our router tag, and I've created a variable called as layout which will hold our current layout value inside it. So how is this value being passed over here? So inside this inside your views, we are emitting that event called as update layout that will be fetched by a Vue.js framework and will update your application based on the Vue logic over there. So if you go back to your browser, let's refresh it. Now if you click your sign up page, it's perfect. Again, click on your login page, it's perfect. So what we have done is we have achieved a dynamic layout inside a single page application like your Vue.js. So this dynamic layout is not something specific to your Vue.js. It's applicable to any single page application. So here, using your component, we have achieved a true dynamic performance, which is more performant compared to your static layouts. So what we have done as a part of this video tutorial is first we try to answer why do we need our dynamic layouts inside a Vue.js application. Then we created a static way of it, and as a part of that we created our layouts and we configured that layouts inside our Vue.js views, and then configured our Vue.js app. Similarly, we try to do the same thing with our dynamic layout. I hope you liked this video tutorial, and please do not forget to like, comment, and share this video with your friends. And if you have any feedback related to this web series, please do provide in our comment section, which would immensely help us in our upcoming videos. And also please do not forget to like our Facebook page provided in our description section. And do not forget to subscribe to our channel by clicking the channel icon below over here. And you can view the playlist of entire web series building production web application using GraphQL, AWS Amplify, and Vue.js over here. Thank you.